Now, in the aftermath of October 7th, and since the subsequent war in Gaza to root out Hamas, thousands of Jews around the world have rallied around the flag. Volunteer organizations have been in full swing, and ordinary citizens desperately wanting to help have found a way to join the cause, some in the most creative and meaningful of ways. One such example is Oran Goldberg, who together with his wife and two others set up Unit 107, a grassroots organization that serves Israel's critical needs, namely making sure the soldiers on the ground are well protected. And joining me now from New York is Oran Goldberg, whose day job is actually a client success manager at Yapo, a well-known Israeli startup, and Silvi, Specter, his wife, who is a startup marketing consultant. Both are also co-founders of Unit 107. Pleasure to have you both. Sorry it's so early in the morning there for you.
Oh, it's worth it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
You guys started with just 4 people and have now grown to hundreds. Explain a little bit about how this all started.
Yeah, so Oran and I both live in the U.S., and we actually had a wedding ceremony for ourselves on October 7th. And on October 8th, we were really trying to figure out how we can make an impact from here. Oran texted his commander. His first instinct was, I really want to go serve. His commander said there was, there was no need. And so Oran and I wanted to figure out what's the highest impact way that we can help Israel from here. Him and I and 2 of our co-founders were receiving texts from Israelis on the front lines who did not have the supplies they needed. Obviously, there was shortages in Israel, and we wanted to figure out how we can get them those supplies and make sure they knew that they had that support from Israel. So we all hopped on a Zoom, talked about how we could help, and realized that the best way would be to literally go buy the items ourselves and then find people who are actually flying to Israel, give them the items, and then have people who would meet them at the airport to drive it directly to the units. And it started, as just us 4, and it caught on, and now we have over 400 volunteers.
That's incredible. Oran, how are you both able to deal with this on top of having full-time and relatively demanding jobs?
Honestly, Yotpo has been an incredible supporter of this organization and been really giving me the time and the space and really had my back from the beginning. Actually, in the beginning, they gave us some time off just to, have our time just to make sure we are building this operation. And once we had enough volunteers that were able to keep it running and help us, it's really a teamwork here where we have people both in New York, actually also in Philadelphia, Miami, Los Angeles, like a lot of different cities in the US, and also people around Israel that help us with making sure that it's getting to the soldiers. And that's what was really the magic of it, where we had people seeing that, they pack an item in New York City and then they see it a day after going into a soldier near Gaza.
So why does your organization differ? There have been many requests for getting protective gear that is desperately needed to the soldiers. What sets you guys apart?
Yeah, I think, soldiers called us the Amazon Prime of Israel. It was really, first of all, that we were able to get items to them so quickly. Thank God there were so many people who were going to Israel, and we had such a nimble organization that we really were able to turn, requests around in 48 to 72 hours. And the second reason is that we really were, operated by requests. And so soldiers would get plenty of, items that they, plenty of donations, but they weren't exactly what they needed. They would get shampoos and random, Cliff Bars and things like that. But we actually were precisely the critical supplies they needed. We would often get that response from soldiers like, wow, this is actually precisely aligned with our needs. So I would say those 2 are what sets us apart in terms of like the quality of our service.
Now, we've, of course, seen your website and seen the numbers, but tell our viewers perhaps that haven't yet exactly what your impact has been.
So since the beginning, we have raised over $300,000, mainly on Venmo and PayPal. We have reached over 60,000 soldiers in Israel. We have sent over 80,000, we sent over 100,000 items since the beginning of the war. And yeah, we have almost 400 volunteers. We have 2 offices. We have an office in New York. We have an office in Tel Aviv to help us run this organization. And it's been an incredible journey.
I think it's also worth noting that, the $300,000 we raised was pretty much only from Instagram and posting on Instagram and having people reposting us. In the US, so many people wanted to help and wanted to donate, and there's so many obviously huge organizations they could donate to, but I think there was a lack of trust in them and a desire to donate to, a grassroots organization that they knew were getting items to soldiers very quickly. And so that really contributed to our success in being able to raise so much money so quickly just from a social media platform.
So how can people get in touch with you guys in order to help, whether it's volunteer, donate, or even make requests themselves as soldiers for some of the equipment or items that they need?
So they can go on our website and our Instagram where they can or fill the form and be able to send a request, or be able to follow us on Instagram. And we have a lot of donation activities where we have volunteers that are going into the bases, and then they're just raising money to buy lunch for people, or wherever they go to soldiers and share with them what their actual needs right now, and for helmets or for boots or whatever the soldiers are in need, to make sure that we are not only sending them what they need, but also they know that they have our back from the US here.
So what do you envision happening with this organization in the future? Hopefully sooner rather than later, this war will come to an end. What then happens to Unit 107?
I think it's a very interesting question. We actually now are in those conversations internally, but our vision is to really give people a way to connect with Israel in a one-on-one kind of experience, like creating that nonprofit 2.0, where we're going to be able to do something different to really have our age of our generation get more connected to Israel and see Israel in the light that we have seen it, we have experienced it. We had our wedding in Israel this end of summer on August 31st, and I think it was very special to have a lot of people that came from the US, that it was their first time, and seeing how they reacted and how surprised they were of how developed it is, how amazing it is, how we have so many people live together and so close to each other. An example is people walked over Jaffa, and we're so surprised to see the mosque, and seeing that how people live together and seeing how peaceful it is. And I think that will be something for us also to consider as we move forward with Unit 10-7.
Yes, because we obviously know that this cause is not sustainable, but what is sustainable is everybody's, passion and support for Israel. It's been really surprising how many people have not been interested in Israel in the past, but after 10-7, they really want to get involved and really want to help. And we've built this amazing community. We've gotten, donations from over 2,000 different people. We've had multiple events, and we really want to be able to, leverage this community and take it even beyond the war. So we're in our heads down and sort of exploring the different avenues that we can take in order to really increase, passion for Israel and support for Israel. So stay tuned.
Oran, Goldberg, and Silvi, Specter, firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here on the special edition of I-24 News. And perhaps even more importantly, thank you for the amazing and incredible work that the two of you are doing from so far away.
Thank you very
so
much
for having us.